Zombie apocalypses are pretty much the go-to world-ending scenario that most people bring up in conversations. People just like to see if their favorite characters from different franchises could survive being in a situation like that. So today, not only will I be making the best team of 6 Pokemon to survive a zombie apocalypse, but also say which human from the Pokemon world I would choose to have as a partner in this apocalypse. So, without any further ado, let's start by talking about the Pokemon. When you think of a zombie apocalypse, the problem that most people will think about is the zombies, but there is a way more pressing issue. Without people doing their jobs, there will be a shortage of resources, but the most relevant one is electricity by far. Without easy access to electricity, surviving would be very hard, and that's where Rotom comes in. Rotom is probably one of the most useful Pokemon you could have because not only does it have 5 very helpful forms, but it can also start machines that it can't directly possess. As for the forms that it can possess, Rotom Heat is useful for cooking, Rotom Wash is useful for cleaning food and clothes, Rotom Frost is useful for storing food and providing ice to treat injuries with, Rotom Mow is useful for fighting zombies because, as we all know, plants and lawnmowers are a zombie's natural enemy, and Rotom Fan is there, I guess. And the best part about all of this is that Rotom doesn't need electricity to make these machines start, because it is the electricity. Rotom is a very versatile Pokemon to have, but without the machines it uses to change forms, there's no point in having it. So, to make sure I always have at least one of these machines at my disposal, I'll use a Swalot. Why Swalot, you may ask? According to its Sapphire Dex entry, whatever it eats, it swallows whole. This means that Swalot here could carry any machine Rotom needs for me while I carry it in its Pokeball, because as it was established in the anime, Pokemon that have some objects attached to them have that object go with them inside of the Pokeball. But its usefulness isn't just as a support for Rotom, because Swalots can also munch zombies and dissolve them with acid. And as we all know, the third weakness of a zombie is being eaten alive, or dead. I don't know. Now, you might be thinking, Rotom and Swalot are useful and all, but there's no point in surviving the zombies if you have nothing to eat. And to that problem comes a solution in the form of Appleton. If you look at Appleton's Shield Dex entry, you'll see that its back can be peeled off to be eaten. I know, it kinda sounds gross to eat off the back of a living being, but the dex says it's tasty, so I might give it a shot. It probably tastes like apple pie anyway. Besides it being a food source that regenerates, by being a grass type, Appleton can help with growing crops, making sure that we don't have to eat only off of the poor Pokemon. Zombies are tricky creatures to fight off. They don't feel pain and are moving just to get a bite off of you. So how do you stop them? You burn them. And the best Pokemon to do it is Blaziken. I've talked about this evolutionary line in my starter deadliness ranking video, where I mentioned how Torchic can breathe fire of over 900 degrees Celsius. That's industrial level heat. So I'm pretty sure there won't be any zombies left to chase anyone if Blaziken steps up. Besides the fire, Blaziken is a fighter, so it could break barricades or help collect resources that are hard to get, or behind tough objects. What's even better is that if you get your hand on the necessary items, you can Mega Evolve, but I don't even think that would be necessary. Blaziken is just that guy. This next Pokemon is both useful for fighting zombies and transporting resources, and the Pokemon is Dragonite. First of all, in a sad world where a zombie apocalypse happens, it would be very good to have such a happy Pokemon like Dragonite to boost up morale. Just look at it, it's adorable. The second thing is that this chubby dragon is a powerhouse, so don't let its appearance fool you. Not only is it a dragon, but according to its Fire Red Dex entry, it can go across the entire planet in 16 hours. You know how crazy that is? This means that it can go from the UK to Japan in around 3 hours and 48 minutes. With speed like this, Dragonite could carry supplies and people from a base to another or even come in to rescue anyone who might be surrounded by a horde of zombies. Dragonite would be very useful for rescue and transportation. I usually don't like adding legendary Pokemon to these lists because they're so strong that it kinda takes away the fun of thinking of an ideal Pokemon for a specific scenario. However, since this is a legendary scale threat, I think I can make room for at least one legendary Pokemon. If you've been following along with the video, you probably know that there is one very important thing I did not take into account while making the zombie survival team: a reliable water supply. But you might ask me, why do you need a legendary if any water type can produce water? Well, the water produced from water types isn't consumable, so I can't rely on that. This means that I would need a way to purify the dirty water I find laying around, making Suicune the perfect Pokemon for the job. I already explained Suicune's usefulness, but to summarize, it can clean dirty water so that my team and I have something to drink. Besides that, it is a legendary, so its strength is always a good thing to have by my side. And if you still think Suicune might be too OP, let me tell you something. If this guy can catch one without battling, so can I. Now that I'm done naming all the Pokemon, I want to tell you guys which human character from Pokemon would be the ideal partner to have traveling with you to make sure you survive the hordes of zombies that might be after you. I don't want to stall, so without any further ado, the best person to go along with you on this journey is Brock. I think everyone will find this choice reasonable, because if there's a character that can take care of himself, it's Brock. This guy has traveled through 4 different regions: Kanto, Johto, Hoenn, and Sinnoh, meaning that he has a lot of experience with survival in the wild, and probably has traveled to way more other regions off screen. Also, the dude knows how to cook, takes care of sick Pokemon, and if it ever rains, he can just use his trusty frying pan as a drying pan. That's it for this video. If you liked my content, please consider subscribing and let me know in the comments what you think of my picks. Anyways, it was great being here, and I'll see you all next time.